Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be talking about AI and the future of workers because I think this is actually going to be colliding and going to be in flux in the next few years. I want to go through some headlines, share some thoughts, and get you guys as well. So read the first headlines here. Elon Musk and several other technologists call for pause on training of AI systems. So people are getting kind of worried that maybe AI might be going too fast and replacing people. A couple of the things that they're saying, this is like an open letter. You can sign it if you like. Right now, there's 1,328 signatures, and sort of concerned about, say, ChatGPT and others. And then the new version of ChatGPT just came out. And this is saying contemporary AI systems are now becoming human competitive at general tasks, right? So we're saying like the AI can compete with like how well humans work, essentially. And I think you guys know where this is going, right? AI replacing humans, essentially. And we must ask ourselves, should we let machines flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? Should we automate away all the jobs, including the fulfilling ones? Should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, and obsolete and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? Such decisions must not be delegated to the unelected tech leaders. Powerful AI systems should be developed once we are confident that their effects will be positive and risks be manageable. And in fact, they're calling for a 6-month pause on the development of AI. Multiple people have signed this thing. Like I showed you guys, there's like 1,300 so far. But notably, Elon Musk here and Steve Wozniak, which they don't like each other. However, they do agree on this issue, and you're going to probably get other people to come forward in this one. It is a really important issue, actually, because again, we're talking about sort of what is the role of AI? Will it replace people? And how fast will this happen? Now, there's an interesting one here. It says, which jobs will AI hit hardest and which will stay safe the longest? This was actually a chart. They're kind of saying like sort of which industries are exposed to AI and some are more exposed than others. So the ones that sort of stood out to me is like if you were in, say, installation, maintenance, repair, building, grounds, and cleaning, like there's just not a lot of AI. Like meaning that like as of now, say building a building or, doing sort of maintenance or cleaning, repairing, air conditioning, kind of things. Right now, AI can't really replace you. Whereas like office and administrative support, AI, right, you're exposed heavily to automation AI, these kind of things. You can pause the video and check the chart for yourself. I just want to show you that every sort of industry is going to be affected differently by AI. And also, too, I'd love to hear in the comments on sort of your experiences, what you work in. Is AI present or not present? And do you think it will replace you? This chart here basically shows 3 different colors. So the dark blue is 0 to % which is no automation. So basically not that much automation. 10 to 49% AI is a complement, meaning they're using it. And then 50% likely replacement. Now, some of the things that really stood out to me, which I thought was interesting, was like legal. So they're saying AI could actually replace. And I think it's a really interesting one. I would be curious for people out there in the legal industry if you agree or disagree with that. I just don't know. To be really frank, I don't know. I don't use AI. But I guess theoretically, maybe it would replace a lot of clerks to look up case law quickly. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you guys. I don't know everything. Office administrative support, I would say yes. And also, too, I would say probably I've mentioned before, like your sales related kind of things. So this is not saying replace, but they're saying complement because I know, like, for example, customer service and sales, these kind of things, like these days when you go to a website, you're talking to a robot. Those kind of customer facing things may end up being more robotic. And same with like the support. I think other ones that will probably get replaced with things like accounting, these sort of things. I think this will be heavily automated. Right now, I was telling you, I did my taxes using basically online on the web, and it just does it all right through. You don't have to talk to a person at all. It's like all automatically done. And then you can pay extra if you want to talk to a person. And a lot of companies are like that. You pay extra if you want to talk to a person, but I frankly don't need to usually for me. And then it seems like this is the same. Building, grounds and stuff like that, and maintenance and automation, they're probably not going to be affected. So I think a lot of the trade jobs are still going to be safe, most likely for years to come. I don't know how long, but there's a difference between, say, the trade jobs, I'm talking about like, say, carpenter or plumber, this kind of stuff, we compare it to, say, like a factory worker, which would be maybe like building car. That's going to be different. But I think mainly maintaining a car will be different than, say, building a car. So all these things are going to be differently affected. However, regardless of what happens in the future, again, Elon Musk, Wozniak, and a bunch of other people are saying, hey, maybe we should pause the development of AI. And I'd be curious if you guys agree or disagree with that, because it's actually quite an interesting thing. because Elon Musk tends to be more of a, innovation, this kind of stuff. But Harry's saying pause. Regarding work as well, and we've talked about this. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of pressure on jobs. I've talked about this several times all through last year and this year as well. So it looks like EA is cutting 6% of their workforce. And it is unfortunate. A lot of companies either overhired, or even if they didn't, there's just going to be a slowdown in the economy. And if the money's not there, the money's not there. Same way, Disney is also laying off people, 7,000 employees. And I'm putting these two together because I want you to understand that if companies are looking to cut costs, not only are they going to cut employees, they might be thinking, okay, where can we use AI and automation to replace said employees? Or how can we, hire jobs in the future that will be more innovative and cost effective? This is why I'm putting these things together for you guys. Another thing I want to mention as well, you're going to see this headline. This one's kind of a funny one. It's not funny to the person, of course, but Disney lays off promoter, chairman of Marvel Entertainment. The reason why I mentioned this one is because, remember, I always talk with you guys about how if you want to keep your job, you want to make sure that you have good relations with people at work. So evidently, it was a few months ago, and there was the person that was Peltz, and he was coming in to essentially, kind of try to buy out Disney or get a cause and change in board seats, and just, basically hostile takeover kind of talk. Now, this person, so it was a promoter. He was siding with Peltz. And then Peltz, when he sort of backed off, this sort of put Perlmutter in a bad situation. So point being, if you're going to choose a side, you want to be on the winning side, and he's not on the winning side, and hence getting fired. Although, to be fair, he is pushing 80 and getting kind of old, but it does matter. It matters, don't piss off people at work. They'll remember, and he's out. And I want to mention this movie as well, talking about pissing off people at work or things like this. I actually required this movie when I first started teaching. And this is called The Surrogates. And the reason why I mentioned this one is because it kind of goes back to the idea of how do we think about ourselves in the workplace, the basic gist, and you can watch it for yourself. And it's entertaining movie, and don't take it too seriously, but the idea is that these people, like you can see Bruce Willis here, he's wearing the goggles. He basically lives his life through an avatar, and everyone goes to work in an avatar body. And I think it's interesting because, like I said, I mention movies all the time because it sort of captures the imagination of what could the future be like. And does everyone go aboard with it? And you probably guess the answer to that. Not necessarily. Not everyone goes on board with the future. Now, also too, talking about the future, when we were just saying that, Elon Musk is saying, hey, slow down on the AI because we're worried about replacing workers. Workers themselves, however, though, are going to be complaining about not getting paid more. And I think, in my opinion, when sort of companies look around the landscape and see workers that are complaining or wanting to unionize. That's why I'm using this example. Tesla workers at New York plant fired after labor push, union says. They're essentially saying, okay, well, if I can hire a robot that won't complain, I'm just going to do that, right? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Why I'm putting these things together? And this is sort of where it's going to be a very, very touchy issue. If you develop automation AI too quickly, you're going to essentially put a whole bunch of people out of work very, very fast, and it's going to create a lot of social problems. I'll give you a very simple example. One of the most common jobs, and maybe the most popular job, or I guess the most work job in the world, would be like driving a vehicle, be it a car, be it a van, be it a plane, be it a boat, these kind of things. And once all those jobs go to, robots, essentially, you're going to have a lot of people out of work. And I just don't think, I'm just telling you realistically, I don't think the world's quite ready for that. And also, too, as costs go up and soar, be it your rents, your food, and stuff like that, people are going to keep asking for more raises because this is just real. And in many industries, many jobs, your salary hasn't kept up with the price of inflation. That's just a reality. And, companies are trying to figure, okay, I got to balance, Wall Street, investor expectations for profits, and I also got to balance, keeping my workers happy. And I mentioned the Tesla thing because some workers are going to try to unionize, and some companies are going to say, no union or discourage it. Now, they're not supposed to do that. And you're going to get different, accounts of whether or not companies are doing things illegal or not. I'm just bringing it up because this is under scrutiny right now. The Tesla one is one that you always hear about, these kind of things. The most recent one has been also to Amazon, and most recent in the headlines, it's been Starbucks, actually. So Schultz he's a CEO over at Starbucks, and he was testifying in front of Congress. It was a pretty testy exchange between Bernie Sanders himself. But the basic gist of it is Starbucks, intimidating workers, or the union busting, this kind of stuff. There's been multiple complaints over there. I was reading through this. You can read another headline. Sanders grills former CEO Howard Schultz in the Senate hearing. And I'm not going to come down one way or the other because I frankly I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not there. But I can tell you it looks like there's 9,000 Starbucks locations. 300 have unionized. And they're going to be saying here, the NL and NLRB, that there's been 83 complaints against the company. And I guess there's been charges of 513 unfair labor practices charges lodged against Starbucks. So there's definitely a lot of charges against them, and we will see. I think these things matter because this particular case, if it turns out, Starbucks is doing bad things or who knows, whatever, or, unions become stronger, it's going to cost a lot of companies out there, be it your Chipotle, be it your Walmart, be it any number of companies, if workers start banding together to basically collectively ask for more money. This is something that we're seeing in multiple places around the world. Just frankly, workers want more money, or they want people to screw with their, retirement. It's not like an unusual thing. Now, what's interesting about this particular issue, though, is that Schultz was actually considering running for president as a Democrat. So I point this out to you because I don't want you to think it's like such an obvious left-right kind of thing. It's not. And the other thing is too is Starbucks has always been known for a long time as being pretty friendly to workers. They were one of the few companies that were giving 401k and healthcare and benefits for a really long time. However, the argument that Schultz is going to try to make in front of Congress is like, well, we have a long history of protecting workers and paying workers very, very well, along with benefits. However, maybe in the last few years, the prior leadership, has lost its way, and I'm coming back to repair it. And then the recent attacks is like, well, you're not really repairing it because you're actually breaking the law. So we're going to see on that. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know. But I do know there's been a lot of complaints against them. And the same way there's been complaints against Tesla. And who knows, sometimes companies find ways to get out of it. And this is sort of where the balance lies always is are companies going to have more power or workers going to have more power? In this day and age, right? Like today, we're in a different era because essentially companies can say, well, if I'm going to have too much trouble with expensive American workers, I'll just ship the jobs overseas because we can do, Zoom work. And it's going to really change the landscape added on top of AI. Now, I'm not saying these things to scare you. It's not about scaring you. It's about preparing you so that you're in industries and so that you have job skills that where people can't replace you. You want to be in a position where people can't replace you with someone overseas, and you want to be in a position where people can't replace you with a robot. I hope you guys understand why I'm preparing you for these kind of things, is to keep you informed. Not to scare you, it's keep you informed. There's a couple movies I want to point out, and the reason why I mention it is because I always think it's fun to watch movies. I'm a big movie guy, and I actually require my students to watch all these kind of movies. So Surrogates was one of the requirements I have. Gung Ho is another one I require students to watch. This one's an interesting one because you could probably call this one an anti-union movie. You have to watch it yourself to see the discussion of it because the unions have definitely been weakened throughout the years, and this kind of movie sort of illustrates why. And I just want to, I don't want to ruin it. Just if you get a chance to see it, get a chance. It's called Gung Ho with Michael Keaton. This one's another example of how unions have been weakened. This is called American Factory. But I don't want to ever paint that unions are across the board good or that unions are across the board bad. I don't ever want to paint it that way because everything depends on a case-by-case basis, right? You can have a company that treats their workers excellent and there's no need for union. Or you could have a company that treats their workers terrible and the workers, would be better off if they were unionized. So it's not a simple yes or no answer. The world is never that simple. However, what you want to do is educate yourself to kind of understand the issues, going forward. That's sort of why I present this stuff to you. However, I will say, always do look at numbers. And one thing that's really interesting is that, unions are having a moment, but membership isn't booming. And I've showed these numbers before, but I want to show them to you again because I do think it is interesting. So public support for unions has actually been going up. It's at 71%. This is like, Gallup poll kind of data stuff. However, most Americans do not belong to a union. It's actually been going down since the 80s, and we're sitting at like 10% of people belonging to a union as of today. So very, very few people do. And I think this is putting it all together. I have a bet when AI really starts to pick up, let's say they don't pause, because even though Elon Musk and people are saying, hey, let's pause the development of AI for 6 months, I just don't see it happening. I think innovation and technology is going to move forward, and AI is just frankly the future. I use it for, pretty much everything, from spell checking on my phone to, this is real. Like say, you automate, for example, color or sound or any of these kind of things in say video, just for example, just it is part of the landscape that we live in. Any number of things, and I'm sure in your job you use this stuff as well. You can even argue just a simple calculator, right? I don't do math anymore or whatever. The thing as I want to think about is that you can either join on to this is the future AI and figure out ways to integrate it into your workflow, or you can try to fight against it, which I think is a bad strategy because it's coming, right? Think of it this way. Let's say we know ChatGPT is going to be jobs of the future. I saw an article recently. They were saying like they're calling it AI whisperer, and they're going to pay like over $300,000 if you're like really good at using AI. Like true story. Now I looked through and I was like, okay, maybe it might be a little hyperbole, but the idea though is that people who are embracing the technology going forward, I think are going to be better off. Yes, you're going to see maybe in the short run a rise of unions asking for more pay from any number of things. Like actually, we talked about airport workers. I think that was about 3 or 4 months ago. If you guys remember that, in San Francisco, the airport workers were on strike. And I'm not saying they don't have a right to strike. I'm completely not saying that. I think people have a right to get paid what they're worth, and I think they have a right to stand up for themselves. Absolutely. However, in any of these things, you are in a much more stronger position if you have valuable skills that are a rarity, not skills that are too common, that they're easily replaced, right? Be it by another person, be it another person in another country, or be it by a robot. So this is sort of why I want you to bring this focus and attention to you. It is not the end of the world if you are prepared for these things, right? It is the end of the world if you just close your eyes and put your head in the sand and ignore it. So, moving forward, I'd be thinking, okay, which jobs have opportunity, which ones can't be replaced most likely by say AI or automation. That's why you guys show you the charts of different industries and these kind of things and show you kind of the landscape that we're in. So anyway, I always appreciate your time. Love to hear your thoughts on any one of these topics, and I'll catch you in the next video.